So please, you will join me to welcome Minister Ife Kehinde. Pastor Ife Kehinde, so sorry, God. And then if you can help me welcome Mr. Shola Oworu as well. And our favorite minister, who is who he is, Minister Nelson. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so very quickly, we'll start from Mr. Nelson, Mr. Pastor Ife. If you could please just introduce yourself to us, especially talking about your business journey, starting a business. So before Pastor Ife even speaks, I recommended someone for a job with Pastor Ife, and he's had very kind things to say. In fact, one of my closest friends used to work for Pastor Ife when she was in her NYC. Now she has a baby, she's married, and every time we meet, she would ask me about Pastor Ife, and she would always talk about how that was her favorite place to work. Like, she had an amazing experience. And not everybody can say that about their bosses. In fact, today I was thinking about one boss that used to pay me 30K but insulted my life. So I'm so grateful. And his business does amazing, excellent work. They've done stuff for everybody that I've recommended has good things to say. So I'm really excited to learn more about you as a person, as a businessman, and what has led you to the journey, your entrepreneurship journey.
Thank you very much. Let me see. I would like to know who that person is.
Lydia.
Oh,
Lydia,
okay.
yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ife. I don't like it when people call me pastor in the outside. This is the inside of it. Okay. So I didn't think that I was naturally set out for business. I am not so much of an outspoken person. I am very reserved. In as much as I like solving problems and attending to people's problems, I really do not like so much engagement. I like it to be very brief. Describe what you want. We can find a solution to it. But a lot of people like to talk. But you know, I'm growing in that light. I started out as I started work with a stockbroking firm, then the bank. But I knew that I was not going to stay in the bank for so long because bank job to me wasn't that. I wasn't cut out for bank job because you have to meet a lot of people and you have to do a lot of routine. It's just one thing over and over again. So I gave myself a few years. I gave myself 2 years. At the end of 2 years, I resigned. But I would, in retrospect, I think that was silly because it wasn't as if I was prepared for anything. I was hoping that I would get a job with maybe MTN or Globalcom or something. But that never came through. Fortunately, I had some idea about creatives, so I like designs. So I decided to join with a friend that was into that space, and that was how it started. So I was with him for roughly 2 years, then I decided to do my own thing. And along the line, I was just doing my own thing, do the little I could do here and there. Around that time I got married. It was it was really tough. But thankfully my wife is a very correct person. So, yes, you can clap. How did we start? So, PG is a partner at CrossArch. There's another person called Toyin Fashino. He's currently in Canada. And I like saying this because so that people can know how I started. I needed money. I had executed some job for NYSC. Then my mother-in-law was with NYSC, so at least it was that plug in there. And it wasn't just a plug, it was based on delivery. Because she's a very strict person. She didn't want her image to be tarnished. So I knew that I couldn't fall her hand. I did some work for her. Usually government organizations don't pay until a few months. Then I was broke. So I reached out to Toyin. I don't think I've said this publicly before, that I needed some money. Let me 5K, fuel the car. Sorry? 20. No. I told him I needed 5K. But Tony withdrew 20K, gave me 15, and he kept 5. So I was like, really? So a few weeks later, he called me that he was embarrassed that I called him for money. What was happening? This is how we are in church. So if you are not really connected in here, you are losing a lot. Sincerely. He reached out to me that he was embarrassed that I called him for money. Really, even me, I don't like calling people for money. It was just that I had hit the end of the road, and I needed some help. So he said he was expecting some money, so he just resumed with, I think, Total then. So you had access to a particular loan, and he wanted to do some business, so he was looking for someone to work with. So he said, was I interested? I said, of course, I am. He said he would like to do car hiring business, that I should find out, all that. So I got back to him maybe a week or two after, just to give him like a presentation of, the expectations, like a business plan. Then in the middle of my presentation, he was like, okay, if I were to give you the money, what would you do? I'm like, there's a machine I would like to buy. It's quite pricey. This is 2014. It was about 6.5 million then. But we'll need about 12 million to set up the press. So like, okay, that's fine. Let's go for that. Since that's your passion, that's what you want to do. I'm like, are you serious? He said, well, I don't have that much money. Go and look for somebody else that can. And obviously, I didn't have any shishi. But at least I had the idea. So I was really happy this morning when he was speaking about, value. And because a lot of people look for money, and I realized that money has this fake or false impression of capacity. Whether you have it or you don't have it. So if you don't have money, you can feel that you are incapacitated. When you have money, you can feel that, oh boy, you are... But the truth is, a lot of people have money. A lot of people started the same business with us, and they are nowhere today. Not because they didn't have the right equipment, but rather they didn't have the right mental structure, both mental and physical structure, and create processes that can sustain, that level of business for a long period. So we started, PG joined, so the three of us started the business. I wasn't new in the business, but I had a lot to learn. But it's going to be 10 years next year. We have grown. We have grown. And I was telling someone that, I had very good partners who were willing to allow me grow, allow the organization grow. They didn't put any pressure on me, so I grew on my own space, in my own time. And that definitely today has benefited each and every one of us. I earn a living from that. They get some form of returns on their investment based on that. And I was telling someone that PG gets on his investment about between 45 and 50% yearly. On his investment. So cross that, see. So we've grown, and God is still helping us grow. God is helping us grow. My work culture, my exposure at the bank was very crucial because it sets certain things in place. So I have a good work culture. I had some bosses that were both very nice, some were very difficult. So I had a mix of them. So I had basic expectations for myself and also for those that will be working under me. And by the grace of God, we have a number of people who work under me. Some of them were not too happy with me, but I became happier when they would call me 2 months or 3 months after they had left and send a message or send a call and say that they did not understand what I was trying to teach or communicate to them. Now they get it. That brought me a lot of joy. A lot of joy. Lydia is a different person, though. She was a very resourceful and useful person. However, I'm not moved by money. I'm moved by delivery, satisfying people. And that has helped me. I've had a lot of losses. At the same time, we have had a lot of progress. I was telling Pastor today that um, I really did not do much of advertisement or marketing. People speak for us. And that's the advantage I have right now, that a lot of people are speaking out there, are just speaking for me without me knowing. People just came in from Lagos, with the Tinubu government, and they are calling that someone recommended you. I'm like, really? One last thing I'd like to say, that it's important that we recognize our capacity. When we started, about that year or 2 years after, someone said they could inject 100 million into the business. I'm like, I cannot manage 100 million. Wow. So I turned down the money. 5 years ago, another guy came that he wanted to do something, or rather he would invest into our company about 40 million. I looked at it. I'm like, see, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. But last year, or this year, no, before that, I wanted to go into the online marketing space, and we experimented once. A lot of people are out there, they don't really know what they want. A lot of people will say that you can make a lot more money, if you go online. I agree with you, but there's a lot of structure and processes that go with that. If you've not built that, don't venture into it. And that's the mistake a lot of people do. They want to be visible, and they've not built the capacity to handle the kind of things they're attracting to themselves. My model might not be the best for everybody, but it at least works for me. And I would like to say that to everyone who is looking out for something, he mentioned something earlier about being trustworthy. I think that's the most important thing. I have needed money in this place, and people have given me plenty in this church. A lot of people. I meet Pastor Femi, meet a lot of people. I need so amount of money. And people are willing to give, not because they know. I don't even present the contract to a lot of people, but they still, Mr. Shola is here, in fact. A lot of people are really supported. So for you to stand as a business person, trustworthiness is really crucial. People can commit resources into your hands. And with that, it is an easy and cheap way to grow. Very easy and cheap.
Thank you so much. Just to put it out there, because I want to be rich like PG, please, if you have a small business and you're trustworthy and you want investments, I may not have the money, but I can connect you with people who have the money, then we can share the returns. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Shola, can you please tell us more about Afritex initiative and some of the challenges you've had doing that or any other business and how you've overcome them?
Okay, good evening, everybody, or good afternoon. Okay, well, before coming to Afritex, I never planned doing business. I stumbled into doing business by, design, that God actually wanted me to do business. Because like I tell people, and as an undergraduate, my nickname was Baba Tutorial. So my dream was to be a lecturer in University of Ibadan where I schooled. That was the only thing that was in my head growing up, because my parents were business people. My mom was a lecturer in the same university, so I never was planning into business. But but when I came here, I was, of course, I served in government. I was retained. We were just 2 people that were retained where I served, and that was still. But I left at some point because I needed to leave to go and do my master's in Mina. And while I was doing the master's, we were 14 in the class. I was quite young. I was the youngest in the class. We were 14. And I have to introduce myself to people that was a master's student. People would always think I was a 300 level engineering student because most of my peers were, But I was practically doing assignments for all of us in the class, I have directors. I have 2 army generals in my class. I had a major. I have the airport manager for Abuja airport here was my class. So I was a junior guy in the class, but I do assignments for everybody, Yeah, but before then, because I'd learned, when I was going to NIT, I was going to NIT and Aptech at the same time. So I've learned some of the soft skills that could allow me to use the computer that they had, I didn't have. As a matter, they called me computer man because I had a computer bag, you know, like all this Jehovah's Witness bag that I used to carry my book, but I don't have a laptop. It was a laptop bag, but without a laptop, you know. But they had a cathode-ray computer in the cantonment, if you've been to Mina, you know. So I used the computer in doing all our assignments and all of that. So I had an accommodation, but they practically lured me to start staying with them. Because I would do the assignment for everybody without asking, okay, what are you going to give me for the assignment? So one of the things is, I will tell people that the angel of goodness is in the lane of extra mile, when you can go extra mile for people. Because a lot of things, you know, after Minister Samuel Nelson's presentation, we can actually go home because he has said everything that needs to be said in the lane of entrepreneurship. But what's at work for me, before we get to architects, is the fact that, okay, so I was doing assignment for everybody in the class, and, you know, they started paying my bills. So, of course, I'd prepared before going for the class. You know, I paid my accommodation, I paid my tuition, so it was not like I was going to pay on anybody, but I was doing that for everybody. So one evening I was in Abuja. You know, one of the generals called me, computer man, where are you? I said, I'm in Abuja. So I said, can you do electricals? I don't know what he meant by electricals, but my instinct just said yes. You know, so by default, I said yes. He said, come to me now, and that time you can travel. This was around 2002. You know, you can travel anytime. So I left Abuja at around 6:30, got to Mina around 8:30. So in the morning, he asked his orderly to take me to the center. If you've been to Mina, there's a place that's called IBB Center. It's just like the Yadua Center here. So they were building that structure, you know, for their principal, their former principal. So they wanted to do the electricals of that building, you know, and they said, can I do electrical? I said, yes, you know. So they took me there, and I don't even know what to do. I don't know what they meant, you know. So I was just saying, yes, okay, this is drawing, you know, I can't read drawings. This is what they wanted to do. I didn't understand. So long and short, fast forward, they gave me the job. It was quite some sum, you know. I mean, so I have a friend who has been the head of power in Zenith Bank then. So we went to Lagos, bought all the materials in Alaba, and came to do the job, you know. So that actually inspired that it's not too difficult to make money. You understand? I mean, it was not like you have to do so many. It was just one phone call. I went, and that was a job in millions at that time. So I made enough money that, well, of course, I could study, you know. I mean, I sold my first land when I was 7. I got to when I was 7 to pay my tuition in Mina to do NIT and Alaptech. So I got some money from that project. But instead of buying a car or doing something, I checked other options of where I could study. I wanted to go to the UK, but I couldn't afford it. But I saw an option of doing, so I did remote sensing in Mina. And I'd wanted to go to UI to do GIS, but because of distance and all of that, so I saw the option of doing GIS in India and advanced diploma in GIS, which was a 9-month program. So I paid. So I tell people the first time I entered plane in my life, I paid, and I was going abroad. You understand? From that job, I was able to pay for my tuition, pay my, you know, because I grew up in Ibadan. From Ibadan to Lagos, there is no plane at that time. So I've only seen plane in the air flying. But the first time I was going to enter plane, I was going abroad. I paid all my tuition in India, paid for the flight, paid everything, and I still had some money from that job, you know. And when I got to India doing the advanced my GIS program, you know, I was also just in my room when a call came, and some Nigerian businessman who actually came to buy the franchise of the second largest software company in India just rang and said they have some business people who want to talk to a Nigerian who can work for them. So I went for the meeting. To call long story short, I was employed to work for that company. But they were not ready because they need to bring expatriate. Because I came back to work here as an expatriate. You know, you need to have a structure, your accommodation, the offices. But they just pay the franchise fee without a structure. So I was absorbed in the international pool, you know, so I stayed back for another 13 months before eventually coming. So, like I said, still I was not a businessman. There was no design to do business. So I joined the company. I was working, earning good. You know, I had a brand new car as my official car, living in an old duplex in Baima Abacha Estate. So it was good. But we weren't doing things the right way. You know, I mean, it was not, you know, the owners of the company had an agenda. They had a very good team that could actually revolutionize the sector in terms of the kind of people they were able to attract. But our problem then was not getting project, but finishing projects. You know, so I mean, it became a nightmare for me because I mean, some things you can't see in the camera, but it was a big nightmare because we get project, we don't finish it, so many litigation in court. And I mean, I came in as a GIS consultant, but I became the only young person that was part of management. So it's not like I now don't know what is happening. You know, like doing a project that, you know, you can't say some things in the air, but empty carton of paper to deliver a project, that was so messy. So at some point, you know, my local running then, as an expatriate, is 100,000. You know, because as an expatriate, you earn in dollars, you have what's called local running for you to. So there was money, but at some point I felt I needed to leave. And when I left, everybody thought I was mad because it was a kind of job that any young man would want to do. So I ventured into doing business. Of course, not learning, not actually knowing how to do business. The first office I took was a whole floor where my office is. I had 14 people. You know, start spending money, and in 6 months we didn't get any job, you know. So I'd saved up money, I've worked, I'd made money, but within 6 months, okay, the only job we got was a paper supply in NOTAP, which after all the whatever, the profit was 14,000, you know. And I practically lured one of my colleague, who is a very good software guy, to start up with me. So one morning he just came and said, I said it the night before. He wanted us to talk. In the morning when he came, so he came into the office and said that he actually doesn't know how to say it, but he knows that we have been going through a lot. And for us not to crash and all of that, you know, he's been looking at, and he got a job. And he had to move to Ghana, and he's leaving that night. And, you know, our business is built on 2 legs. I was the business developer. He was the software guy. You know, so it's like someone cutting your leg and saying you should start running. And he was leaving that night, you know. I don't know whether to congratulate him, whether to stone him, you know. So he left, you know, because we started actually focusing on public sector projects. And of course, we didn't have a cloud. We didn't have the understanding of the fact that some things, there are some dynamics behind public sector engagement. So that was the first lane of business we wanted to do, you know. But of course, we will do the tender journals, we buy, you know, do all the proposals, but we weren't getting any job 1 month, 2 months. And we have salary expense that was huge. I mean, as 14 staff and all of that. So when we were making money, so I was coming broke by day, very broke. So my partner left. So well, I mean, God just gave me the idea of working or providing solution to the private sector, because we're actually thinking of, okay, one of the mistakes we had, because you asked what are the flaws, is that we started too big, you know. I started too big. Even if you have all the money in the world, you know, does not mean that you have to invest all of that when you are starting your business. So one of the flaws we had is the fact that we started too big. I mean, as at that time, we had salary expense of about 960,000 monthly. Wow. Yeah, with zero revenue. I mean, we went to buy furniture for the office in Dubai. Because we had money. You know, I mean, our furniture for the office, we traveled to Dubai to buy the furniture. Because the people we are working with, these are people that have had like 30 years of experience in business. So we wanted to start at the level our bosses started, not knowing the dynamics that is involved. And it was a total chaos because we became broke. My partner left. You know, I mean, that day I didn't know whether to know him, whether to, you know, but when we had to come back, we calibrate and start focusing on providing real collaborative solution to the real estate business. We started getting small jobs, you know, and you know, so in the wake of that, you started looking for partners. So it was one of the occasions I had to go back to India to look for, I have a meeting with a company called Aegis Technologies. This, my partner, is actually very good. I think Pastor Mburu will know him. He's close to Dami Williams and Demola. Okay, they are all classmates in Ife. So we and even Pastor Dejo, they were all my junior in Penthouse of the company I work with. So I went for a meeting. I call it partnership on that time in India. And the solution that was created by this my friend, who is a software genius, that works on relational database engine that can process information for millions of concurrent users, was argued that was not done in Nigeria. You know, so I had to call him that. But they said, we know if we do this for Nigeria. So when he spoke to them technically on how he was able to create that engine, you know, they still didn't believe. They said he must have gone for maybe technical support training in India, in the UK. That's what he's talking about. So that was what actually brought the idea of Architects. Because when I came back, I met the people in NIDA. Professor Ngai was the DJ at that time, and discussion was around we need to create a platform to showcase the level of IT development in Nigeria at par with other parts of the world. So to put it in context, Architects is not a business for me. It's an idea that came as a result of seeing a need. It came as a result of meeting a need. But I can tell that I've generated a lot of goodwill, and that's okay. I'm still saying that the angel of goodness is in the lane of goodness, you know, trying to do good while we are doing well. You know, so Architects was not meant to be a business. I went for a business meeting. We saw a need, came back, met with NIDA, and said, okay, we need to create a platform to showcase IT development in Nigeria, part of other parts of the world, and we started doing it. So I can say, I go to some government offices now, and they don't know my name. I don't know the name of my business. Yeah? My business is DAS or eCam Global Service, I think, but in most places, they call Architects. Okay, you ask for Architects. So in terms of business, Architects is not business for me. In terms of business, I do business, but in terms of providing, so I've generated a lot of goodwill from Architects, and to add to all the things that's been said, I don't know how much time is that. What has worked for me so far is being able to be selfless. You know, I mean, like I said, when I was in master class, I was doing assignments. I got my first job. I'm doing Architects. I've got projects, you know, as a result of doing what we're doing. I've got, you know, what can I continue? Or you know, okay, why doing Architects? We do events, we organize, you know, bring stakeholders together. And one of the editions of the event we had some leftover. Sometimes we do events, we spend our money to do, but we have some leftovers. And every other person that was in the committee felt, okay, let's share this money. But the particular minister at that time created an LOC. You know, people come and deliberate on how to do the event. You know, so everybody felt, the main people felt we should share this money. I said, but since we have an LOC, let's give them sitting allowance. But it was not factored in, so two people actually disagreed with me on giving the LOC a sitting allowance. So when the money was shared, eventually, I got my own part of the money. So I went to give 14 people a certain amount from what I got. You know, went to their office, and one of the person I went to his office to give, he wasn't expecting it, so we talked. He told me about his story, how he got to government. He joined government as a director, how he was doing this, and so we walked to this car together. I think 2 days after, someone from his office called me that they wanted to do something. You know, they gave me to do. So we kept, you know, delivering service and all of that. So the time Pastor was sick, and I was also sick at that time, I was in the hospital. You know, people were looking for a job. I got 2 jobs, and I was on the hospital bed through him, and several other things like that. So what I can add to what has been said today is that the angel of goodness is in the area of extra mile. You know, one can go extra mile for people, and the social capital of trust. I think two of the we had a new set of investments recently, and some people invested in the things we are doing over there, and you know, people giving you money for an investment that is not even somewhere they can see, giving you an investment in somewhere you can even decide to jackpot completely, you know, and they are not asking for invoice receipts, you know, but and the social capital of trust can be built Because I think that's the first capital you can even bring it to the market. Because, from the synopsis I've seen, how do you raise capital for your business? And of course, you must first have the social capital of trust to be able to attract other capitals. That is, for me, that's worked.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Okay, so I'll ask Mr. Nelson a question, and then if we have any questions, please, let's start preparing to answer them. What are the different funding available to entrepreneurs, people with ideas, and how can they be aware of this funding and even access this funding? What do they need to have in place to access the funding?
Thank you very much. The first fund is your own personal savings and your own...
Is it on? Okay.
Okay, thank you. The first fund is your own personal savings and your own sweat, more or less. More like nobody would fund you if we've not seen what you've put into the business. In other words, let's say you're working a full-time job. You're asking me to finance you. That's one level. But if you have left your full-time job for 2 months and you're asking me to finance you, that's a different level altogether. You've put in something, you've put skin in the game. Then your family and friends, which is why this is very, very important. You cannot really get third parties to trust you when people that are around you don't trust you. So folks want to know if people around you trust you, and they will probably ask. So for example, let's say you're a TBC member now, and you're trying to get third parties to finance you, but you've burnt all the bridges you have internally, And if you've burnt that, sincerely, it's better to go and make up and say, write down all the people you've burnt bridges with and go make up one by one. Because you can't jump that ship. I don't know if you understand. You can't jump that inner circle around you and go close big deals outside. So apart from family and friends, you can actually get financing from folks that have cash. They may not know you, but they're just individuals and are willing to invest. But most times they will check if you've ticked the other boxes of one, your own equity, family and friends. And then you could get from firms that we call venture capital. These are firms that are set up just to finance businesses. They will likely not fund at the seed stage. They'll prefer to fund after you've closed maybe 1 or 2 funding and you've done some, product development and you've gone to the market. Lastly, and very important, is debt. A lot of times, firms don't really know that you really need debt. So, for example, let's take, for example, Pastor Ife's company. He has raised some level of equity. He's doing well. He might need an extra 50 million to buy an equipment. He can pay that in 2 years. And he knows that if push comes to shove, he can find a way to raise that 50 million if he really needs to. Taking a third-party investor for that 50 million is not advisable. If you can get debt, take debt. Because debt is often cheaper than equity. And then debt doesn't care about who owns what. Debt just wants to be paid off. So just pay me off. So most times, a mixture of debt and equity really goes well, particularly when you've gotten significant equity. So I recommend, one, build social capital, raise personal funds from family and friends, then get individuals who can invest in you. After that, if you need large corporate investors, get them. If not, leverage debt as much as you can.
Okay, so you keep saying get them. How?
Debt.
Oh, like both debt, equity, how?
Okay. Let's say I want to start a business. I've done a business plan. I need to show commitment. In other words, I've put in my own money. And I'm willing to call Pastor Ife, Pastor Shola for a dinner meeting. Let me use a case study of how we raise money for our real estate project. We did the numbers. I was in Pastor Topper's house. That was 2008, 2009. I did the numbers. It checked out. I was like, this can work. This can work. But I knew that I've not been in the real estate side. I'm more of a numbers person. So I need to get a team that can actually build the project. I went to meet an architect Wala Labanji, who spoke. I'm like, this is my idea. These are the numbers. I think this can work. We're like, yes, it can work. Then I had to get a QS to check out if the numbers I was projecting was going to work. And he said, yes, yeah, it can work. So with that, I did a full business plan. Question now was, how do you get the money? So the first thing, because God has put that in my mind that I can do this, so I started talking about it. I'm going to raise a certain amount of money to buy land, to do X, Y, Z, just say sharing the story. Like I'm sharing the story that I need to raise 2 billion. We're raising 2 billion right now. So say spreading the news abroad, that this is what we want to do, and we're looking for potential partners. Then one of my friends who I had met, like I said, on Facebook, we got talking. And he was like, Nelson, I have this investment in ABCD. I was like, I'll just give general idea on how to protect that investment, not looking for him to invest in us. So he was more like, I can actually invest. I was like, I've been looking for you since. What are you waiting for? So the point is that family and friends, by just being audacious and saying, I want to do this. I remember my brother telling me, Nelson, you've been singing this song for quite a while. The way you are singing this song last year, one would have been so certain you'd have said this project. I'm like, calm down, you see it. And eventually he has seen it. So be audacious enough to say you are looking for this amount of money. You want to use it to do X, Y, Z. And just keep saying it. You'll be surprised who will listen.
So you've mentioned knowing how much you need, having a clear vision of what you want to use this for, reviewing your network for potential people that you can speak to, having a business plan. Are there any other things that a person needs to set in place, like structure?
The team. There are 3 M's of raising money. 3 M's. One is the market. In other words, is there a market for that product you want to produce? Is there a market? 1, the market. 2, the mathematics. Does the numbers add up? Show me the numbers. The market must be wide enough and deep enough. In other words, don't tell me that you want to just buy something to sell for Christmas. That's a very short, spanned market. It won't last for long. So a big market that can, expand. That's the first thing. And that you understand that market. Then 2 is the mathematics. What does the numbers show? So for example, inflation is 27% right now. It means that your numbers must surpass inflation rates. If not, you are just maintaining the status quo. However, you could argue that the person has no other option than to put the money in the bank or maybe buy bonds at 14%. So at least you are benchmarking against bonds. So your numbers should show comparative advantage against doing nothing with that money, right? Then, of course, it should show how you are going to hedge the money being lost. Because a lot of folks have money to give. You won't believe that there are more money than there are people to take them, However, people want the money to go and come back. So in my own case, we put our investor to be a signatory account. So when we were building the house for 3 years, every penny was approved by our investor. That level of scrutiny, and I'm surprised most people don't want to be scrutinized. I'm like, you want to take my money? You're joking. You have to put yourself under a structure for scrutiny, even if they don't ask for it. He didn't ask for it. It was we that insisted that, no, you have to sign the checks. Simply because we want to be accountable. This is a very risky business, right? So, have the market, show the mathematics, and then 3, the management team, the 3M. In other words, let the team have the capacity and, proven proficiency to deliver. It will save you a lot of headache. So you may not be the lead person. You might just be the person that put the entire house together. And most times, Steve Jobs doesn't write code, you remember? Mm-hmm. So if you can put the entire team together and to deliver a set of outcomes, then the person putting the money is a bit confident that you can actually exploit that market opportunity.
That's so good. Thank you. So something that really, yes, please, let's put our hands together. Yeah. So it's very easy to attend an event like this and you go home and it's just, another Saturday afternoon. So something I learned to do for events like this is to, as people are talking, making notes of what am I going to do as a result of this thing I've heard, and what am I going to stop doing. That way you have a practical plan. It's not just you've written all your motivational quotes, but then next year comes and you're still making the same mistakes. So I have some more questions here, but just to open it up to the audience, do we have any question? Okay, please. We have Ms. Toyin Rick has a question. Does anyone have a question? Okay, yes, please. Okay, just before she gets the mic.
Well, in terms of trying to get funding for business, I think first is to get the idea right in terms of idea generation, and selecting the proper idea, because one of the reasons why a lot of people might not be able to get funding is especially startup. Minister Nelson has gone into real estate, and that might be an advanced level for quite a number of people. But in terms of for a fresh startup, and one of this is common with many startups having so many ideas at the same time. But idea generation, then selection, having to be able to select the right idea, and of course now moving to the level of development, you're developing the idea. Now that starts with you, for you to now get into developing a minimum viable product. That is what people can really connect with, most times. And you use a case in point of the real estate business, the numbers and all of that. But I think just yesterday we were at a concert here. And after the concert, we had a chat. I think Pastor even joined us at whatever, and we're adding numbers and say, okay, this is because they have been able to create a minimum viable product. Now, because at the level of you trying to look for funding, you must be able to demonstrate that this product, this service is viable. And that starts with you. Of course, he has talked about, and because in terms of funding, pre-seed funding does not come, like people say, I'm earning 10K or 50K or whatever. How do I use my money? Now, in terms of funding, you look at pre-seed funding. Now, that pre-seed funding, you cannot be asking someone to give you pre-seed funding. Now, at the level where Pastor got funding, you can say that's a seed funding. At another level, other funding has come, which is even the next level of investment. So the first level is pre-seed funding, which should come from you or from your immediate family. Because the question, most people say, I don't have anything. I'm working, I cannot even feed myself. But even God will say that, what do you have in your hand? So I can bless it. So you cannot, if you cannot, because I tell people that if you can't save when you're earning 10,000, you can't save when you're earning 10 million. It's a principle. It's just a discipline. So if you cannot create the pre-seed funding at the level of ideation, you cannot get it to a level where you can have a minimum viable product that people can connect with. Because investors, we were talking yesterday about the owners didn't ask us, but we are seeing as possible investors. Okay, this is how this project can be taken to the next level, and there was commitment here and there. So it is the owners is still on the startup. I'm talking from the startup perspective, not even from an established business. That the kind of funding that comes from you is what is called a pre-seed funding. It can be so little, but it will go a long way to put that idea on a particular pedestal.
Yes, sir.
Then,
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, please. You can go on with your question.
Thank you. So the question I want to ask is in regards to funding for service-based businesses. So I noticed that a lot of times when we talk about funding, it seems like a lot of investors, like different organizations, focus on products. And not just products, even tech-based organizations. So my question is for Mr. Nelson. Sorry, Minister Nelson. Like, what are the funding opportunities for service-based businesses that are looking to maybe expand, right, break into new markets? And what would you recommend, like how would you recommend service-based businesses position themselves? What are the things we should really prioritize that would increase our chances to access
Financing.
yes, financing?
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much. We can learn from history. So let's take an example of the top service-based businesses. Advisory, legal, accountancy. These are professional services. You notice that they are organized more as partnerships because it is the human capital, social capital of their partners that is really the asset, not their capital base. In other words, their capital base is primarily their leaders and not their money in the bank. So those firms expand by getting more partners on board, primarily. Now, but there are instances where a service-based business might actually need money to scale. But the truth is that relative to human capital,
and back end, UI, UX, how should they go about building that product or executing that idea?
Well, that will still boils down to doing more research if they have to go into that, because you shouldn't do any business that you don't have a full knowledge about. So first is it's going to be like a journey that is unending when you don't have. So you can choose to learn anything. So first is that the person does more research and become a product owner on that subject area. Then that subsequently you can now begin to develop, and of course you can actually have to work with other, because you can, okay, like the example I gave, when I was starting out, even up to now, I've never claimed that I'm a tech person. I'm a business developer that works in the tech space, and that's what I've situated myself within the time I work. So you work with other people who are now tech savvy or who are the tech, experts. So you might need to have a team, that would, of course, like Pastor Ife also said too, everything should be defined. So what is this person doing? Because most big ideas like that actually transcend one person. So you need to now have other people who are doing, some kind of tech idea will need accounting background. I am not an accountant, so it's not even, some of them will need, the policy and the terms of that agreement that actually does not make you to, some even need some international convention to run. So you need an intellectual property lawyer, patent and all of that. So running an idea or two is that you would, as a leader, you must be able to identify a team that makes you do what you want to do, basically.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I have one last question for Mr. Nelson. But before I ask that question, I want to say that just to emphasize on what Mr. Nelson said about a lot of funding being available, but people do not know how to access it. So it's easier to access funding if people know what you're looking for. So whether you're looking for grants or loan or equity, if you're not telling people that this is what I'm looking for my business, chances are you may never know. There are also various communities, like in our business community, we share at least one opportunity every day. And then there are several websites as well. If you subscribe to their newsletter, you become aware when a grant opportunity is open. I also find accelerator programs a good way to access funding. So I just finished a program where they gave out $50,000 in grants, and literally all you had to do is to complete the program. It was a 12-week program, and literally, it's not that deep. You just had to complete the program, and you'll be able to access the grant. So it's sacrifice, but a sacrifice that pays off in terms of even getting funding to grow that business. So the question I have for final question before we go on our lunch break is, you mentioned loan over equity, and I'm really glad that you did that, because a lot of people will tell you that they are scared of getting loan. They rather get free money or have their family and friends invest, which is not a bad thing. So in getting loan, what are key things that people should consider? And also, do you think it's harder for women to get funding than men?
Very interesting question. And before I answer, just to say that next time you want to enroll for such courses that has 50,000 grants, you should let us know. That was 50 million, brother. So I'll start with the women access to finance. Interestingly, we are doing a study for SMEDEM right now as we speak to assess why women are not having sufficient access to finance, funded by ICR and British Council. So maybe we should wait for the report to come out. But there is a general understanding by SMEDEM, who should know better, that women truly do not have sufficient access to financing opportunities as men do. And our preliminary finding in doing that work shows that it is not just that the institutions are not providing financing for women, they are, but the we factors, by we are referring to women economic empowerment factors that inhibit women traditionally. And the secondary lack of self-confidence and belief by the women themselves are beginning to act against women's capacity to demand for finance effectively. So we don't think it's more from the supply side yet. It's more from the demand side. And the factors are not just personal, that are due to other factors that generally affect women. So for example, again, we did another study for ICR, but this time around in Uganda, to find the effect of, the local conditions of women with respect to leadership. And the key factor is that women don't get enough higher education as well as men. You could check. But in Nigeria, that is not necessarily the case, but in many places it is. And then two, women don't have that confidence as much as men do, simply because, you are in a patriarchal system where you are told what to do a lot of times, and over time you begin to lose capacity to self-initiate, And then women are not often in the room when leadership decisions are made, because these decisions are made primarily on network and social relations. So you don't play golf with the guys, you don't hang out for clubbing with the guys, so we don't know you, the bosses don't know you, so they don't, call you out. So those factors act against women. So it's a fact, there's a challenge, and there are many things we can do to change that. That's why we have a woman leading the team for this TBC Care Spring. So we have to be more conscious in giving women leadership, because if one woman gets it right, she can pull other women. Now, to the question of access to finance generally for loans, is that when you want to take a loan, you have to understand what is at stake. The commercial institution is not there to promote your business. They are there to make money. And you don't blame them, because these are people's money they are managing. So you have to understand that. Then two, I have to ensure that I put myself in their shoes. If they want to make money and they're giving other people's money, that means they need the security of how to get that money back. So I have to provide that security for them. So I'll give you a case study of what we're doing in Kaduna as we speak. Well, because we love to work with MSMEs. And MSMEs want to get financing from banks, but banks are not giving MSMEs funding. Is that bad? To give you perspective, last year, Nigeria funded about 22 trillion naira went to the private sector in loans last year. This is based on CBN Financial Bulletin publication. Of that money, less than 1% went to MSMEs. Less than 1%. And MSMEs account for 85% of the jobs in Nigeria and half of the GDP. So that tells you a lot. So, but why MSMEs is not getting finance? MSMEs are small by definition. Average capital base of less than 10 million. So it's harder to pursue somebody that is less than 10 million and get his asset, because he has no assets to hold. So why would I give him money when I have nothing to keep? So that's the general challenge for MSMEs. So our solution was to get them to work as a group. But even then, you cannot trust their individual guarantees. Yeah. But it increases the negotiating power, right? Yeah. Now, get the banks to be willing to fund them on certain conditions that does not violate the bank's interest. So in this case, what we did was that we got the MSMs to work as a group, provide their own equity contribution of 20% for the loan, but ensure that the asset must be a physical asset that the bank can hold in case of incasity. Then get the MSMEs to find one person that can guarantee the loan within themselves. So in other words, we ensure that the MSMEs met what the banks were looking for. And then got the state government to provide some little bit of grants to oil that process. And I was discussing with my team member in Kaduna today, about 100 million worth of project has been implemented thanks to that within the last 6 months. My point, if every party respects the interest of every party, we'll get the job done. So I come to the bank knowing that the bank wants to get their money back. So if I don't have collateral, don't bother coming, because they want to get the money back. And collateral is not just having cash. I'll give you another case study, final case study. Of recent, we chose to go to the commodity trading business. I will know that commodity trading is about cash. You have to have cash to buy the products. So you need to have banks to finance it. So we need to ask ourselves, how do we get the bank to finance it, knowing that the bank needs to meet this. So we came up with a warehousing securitization model. And thankfully, it was not too new. People are already doing that. So I drew up the structure, the cash flow, how the money will flow, how the bank will be protected, how a warehousing third party would warehouse the assets in lieu of the bank. And now my job was to have meetings with the banks. I called Pastor Femi. I said, Pastor Femi, get me your people, let's talk. So he got the people. My job was to ask them, if we do this and this and this and this, does this meet your own lending criteria? They're like, bingo, it does, with some little adjustments. We'll call Sterling Bank. Sterling, if we do this, this and this and this, will it meet your criteria? I say, yes, it will. It will. So now I have 2 banks willing to finance the project. My job is to now get the other parts right. So the answer is this. Know that the banks are not there to hurt you. They're there to make money. And then know what they want. Then build your case to solve, to meet their criteria and to meet yours. It might require some level of engineering. But those who have gotten that process right always get money. There are many people in this country that they know how to get money from the bank, and they keep getting money from the banks.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Please, let's put our hands together for our amazing panel. So now we're going to go on a really short break. So just behind their drinks and food, just grab one, and then we go to our final panel and wrap the... Have we learned anything so far? We've had a great time. All right. Thank you so much. We can go on break now.
Check, 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 check.
All right, we're about to restart. We have just one panel left. Yes. Yeah, so I guess it will be like a lunch session, right? So some people will still need to continue to eat. But please, can I encourage people to move forward? We just all now seem very far away. For those at the back, please, can we move forward? We're almost there, just a few minutes left. I'm trying to spot people that are not eating so we can get some feedback on how the event is going so far. Austin and friend, can you guys move forward, please? Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. What's your name? Please, can you introduce yourself and tell us how the event has been for you so far?
Good evening to you all. I'm Chinedu John by name. I'm a copper. Though I came late, but I've learned a lot of things from the second to the last speaker attending the business and career events. Yeah. Come again.
Yes, what are you taking away from today?
Yeah. Sorry. Let me use my job. Okay. I've learned a lot of things from Mr. Chas because he talks more on how to use the social media to grow our business and career. So we got to know how to be passionate to ourselves and as well to our business as well. Also, okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chinedu. I didn't expect it to be that loud. Is there anybody else willing to share something that, you're definitely doing differently after today's event based on all that you've learned so far? I see some people are eating, so I'm trying to work with people that are not. PG, have you learned any new thing you want to share?
So I was really glad about the person who was on the panel with me, simply because the things I felt that the things I am always passionate about are commonly believed. If we speak in the Men of Influence group, a lot of the time I'm hard about people arriving on time for events, doing things properly, putting the right information on your CVs, and so on and so forth. So I'm happy that... Sorry? Yes, and I'm always very passionate as well about Gen Z employees who do not put their best foot forward when they go for interviews. I was telling them of an example where I had somebody come for an interview online and the person was cheating. So you could see the reflection of the screen he was reading from on his glasses while the person was speaking. So just a lot of minor instances like that that we've discussed in the past. It was just good to have that reaffirmed by someone who's a professional working in the sector.
All right, thank you very much, PG. Is there anybody else who would like to share? Bamba, I'm looking straight at you. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. I think that I enjoyed every session, particularly Charles' session where he talked about how if you don't put yourself out there, nobody will really know. And I also just wanted to add to the question about somebody saying, oh, how do you write? How do you write? I think that it's very important to know that if at all you want to write or anything, you have to have acquired a lot of knowledge first. So maybe just reading articles, reading books, it really, really expands your knowledge. And before you know it, you're able to just put something down. Something, I mean, very simple. But then when you read a lot, it helps you even in writing.
All right. Thank you very much, Bambo. So at this time, we're just going to transition into the last panel. And don't worry, we're not going to spend too much time. So I'm just going to invite Pauline back because she's going to help us moderate this panel. And she would introduce the panelists. Please put your hands together for Pauline as she comes forward.
Hello again, everyone. So this panel is going to work quite differently. I'm not actually going to introduce the panelists. I'm just going to invite them, and as we ask them questions, we would like for them to just introduce themselves and take us through their journey, if that's okay. So please make welcome with me Mrs. Bridget Musa, Barrister Max Ikongbe. Please keep clapping for them as they come. And Mrs. Toyin Olufon. Yes. Okay. Welcome to every one of you. It's great to have you on the panel. It's great to see you. So, a lot of the questions that I already have been asked in the previous sessions. So, as much as I would not like for us to repeat those questions, we would also still want to hear about your journey and your experiences. So, before you go into like answering a question, you can just tell us a little bit about yourself. So this is a general question, and any one of you can actually go first. So it's walk us through your business or career walk and highlight some key things you've learned along the way.
Okay, I'll go first since I'm closer to good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure being in TBC again. The last time The last time I was here was about 8 years ago. Yes, so I'm glad to be here again. Thank you for the invitation. All right, my journey is a long one, but I'll try and summarize it basically. I used to say that I'm an accidental entrepreneur. Why did I say that? When I left school, I never dreamt of owning my business. I just wanted to be an exceptional professional. And life happened, and I had a taste of entrepreneurship. And the first job I ever did was to consult for SEC. And we did a fantastic job. They were really happy, and I'm like, okay, girl, I think you can do this. And, and since then, I have not looked back. So I'm a financial consultant, a business and financial consultant. And I run a consulting firm called Leaford Consulting. Basically, what we do is that we provide accounting, finance, business advisory, and taxation services to businesses as well. And for me, the moment I started, I can tell you without any shadow of doubt that I saw the hand of God, and that I was on the path that I was supposed to be, you know, in terms of the kind of clientele that the business has. And my first major client was an international company that is one of the biggest companies around the world. So the question is, how can someone without experience, you know, get that kind of opportunity? But the thing is that one of the mantras I live by is that anytime you tell me to show up, I show up well. I don't take chances. I don't leave room for regrets. So I always show up well. And I strongly believe that that's what God sees, and that's what He blesses. I remember that the first time I went for this meeting, the country director was a white man. You can imagine having a conversation with a white man, you know, in a very prim and proper office. By the way, I didn't have an office at that point in time. You know, but I went there with the confidence, and I think I had just one staff there. And I said, I show up well. And I was honest as well, because he asked me a question that I wasn't certain about the answer. And I told him that I'm not certain, but this is what I think it should be. And before the end of the day, I will get you the accurate answer. And I think that that's, you know, spoke a lot to him, that this is someone sincere. This is someone that will never lead us astray. She will never say it is black when actually it's white, just for her to sound intelligent. I didn't know. Literally, the man called me and said, I want to help you dot your I's and cross your T's so that you'll get it. I was in competition with the Big Four. So, yes. So you should know what I'm talking about. And this contract, the first contract was like a 10 million contract. This was 7 years ago. So, and since then, that's why I said anything, like, I show up well. And if you give me a work to do, I do it the best way you can ever get to experience. Like, you're going to have an experience and you'll never have a complaint. So that has really, really worked for me and has made my career growth to be something, in my own opinion, is astronomical, and it's something beyond human effort. Yeah. Secondly, amongst the other things that I do, so I'm the founder of the Techie Accountant. So that's a social enterprise. And before I even started my consulting firm, I told myself that if I had the opportunity to do something about the educational gap, the educational, technical, and skill gap that exists in our society, in our graduates, that I was going to take that seriously. And that's what led to me founding the Techie Accountant. And that has had its own successes as well. It's recognized by the US. I was selected as a Mandela Fellow. Yes, Mandela Washington Fellow as well, you know, because of this initiative and many other things like that. So there are a lot of layers to me, but I think I'll just take a pause here so that they have the floor too. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So I guess the question is really to introduce myself and state. So for me, I'm a lawyer, and I consider myself a businessman as well. My story is a little funny because I graduated, got into Abuja. You know, a few people have heard this story before. And what had happened was that for my NYC at the time, I was posted to the Court of Appeal, and I was attached to Justice Mary Odili, you know, who had then just stopped being the wife of the governor, as a legal assistant. But because she was a big judge, she already had very experienced lawyers as a legal assistant, so she didn't really have any work for me to do. You know, and then along with my friend then who had just been called to bar with me, what happened was that because I was doing my NYC in Abuja, and we got our results showing that we had passed law school, you know, and came back that evening to tell his parents, and the parents were excited. And he now asked us, you guys are already lawyers. We have a land somewhere in Pape that has an MTN mast, and it's due for the 5-year annual renewal of the lease for the cell site. I said, you are now lawyers. Why should we go and hire a lawyer to negotiate for us when you're already lawyers? So strangely enough, even before we were called to bar, we just jokingly printed letter-headed paper, wrote to MTN. They responded to us. We went there, negotiated with them, gave us agreement, we signed. So all this was even before I was called to bar. This was in August. We were called to bar in November. So by the time I also, you know, being in NYC, I wasn't really doing anything much. So I just started, we just jokingly started running the law firm from there. No plan really, no direction, nothing, just, you know, chancing on it, you know, go here one day, get a land transaction, sell, some money comes in, you are happy, go there tomorrow, something comes and all that. So it wasn't really structured at the time, you know, and of course, you know when things are not structured, what happens. So maybe 3 years into that adventure, of course, my friend had left and, you know, joined government, so I just continued running the firm alone. But because I had no structure, 3 years into that, you know, I was in a lot of trouble, owing money left, right, and center. You know, house rent became due, couldn't pay house rent, go back to the house maybe as late as 12 midnight. By 5:30, you have run from the house for the landlord to come and catch you. You know, that kind of life, you know, so it became like that for me. So it was difficult. So I wasn't born again at the time. So that was part of how, you know, I just started thinking about what do I really want to do with my life. And then that was how, you know, it was TBC actually. Then I used to go to CSC. So I saw a flyer from TBC for a business summit in a Merit House, exactly. But I didn't go. So I was wondering because, I mean, I grew up in a Christian home. My mom, so far as my mom is a solid Christian. My dad never was a Christian. But, I mean, she took me to church. But her principle was that I'll take you to church to a certain age. And I won't force you anymore. If you don't want, it's fine and good. But I would lay the foundation and let you go. So when she let me go, I can say, you know, that from 95 when I got into secondary school, I never stepped in a church until I came to TBC. That's even if I go for a wedding, I'll stay outside. When the wedding is over, that's how bad my situation was all through university and all of that. So it was until these things happened to me that, you know, it brought me to Christ. And when I came to Christ, you know, I was surprised because for me, when I saw that TBC flyer, I was like, so I thought all they teach in church, maybe leadership and other things, do they do business in church? It was a little strange to me. And to tell you how disconnected I was from the Christian world, I remember the first time I came to TBC, it was Pastor Lawrence Okenyi that preached sometime around Easter 2010. And he quoted from Message Bible. I was like, these people, are they a church or is it a cult? I had never heard of that thing in my life. I was like, what Bible is that? Is that a Bible? That's how, you know, so I tell people sometimes, you know, when you are in the church, you think everybody knows church. Before I became a Christian, I didn't know, maybe apart from Oyedepo, of course, my mom talks about him, Idahosa, of course, because we were in Church of God Mission. I didn't know things about church world, you know, church musicians. And for me, it was all not part of my, you know, the universe at the time. But just to fast forward the story, so I became born again, and of course, thank God I was in a church that supported entrepreneurship, just to emphasize that what we are doing today is not strange. This has always been the way TBC has been. So because of the support of entrepreneurship, I wanted to check out at some point because my business, like I say, had tanked. But that support of a church family and being around so many people who are entrepreneurs encouraged me to keep going on. I think when things started happening for me was, I believe the Holy Spirit helped me. Because I was helping a client do a documentation for a procurement. And I saw a business plan. So I was just flipping through it. So it occurred to me that I'm also a businessman. At least I run a business. I don't have a business plan. So for the first time, I drew up a business plan. That was maybe like 2012, 2013. And that's when my business really picked up. So just to emphasize the fact that for me, finding Christ and understanding the Bible has helped me to really understand. And some of the things Nelson said God bless his heart, really understanding your business from the viewpoint that it's more than just a means to make an income, but it's also a way to live out your faith, to show that light to the world and leave an impact in the world. So, all those principles. So I'm just saying that for you who is here, if you have never thought about the Bible and the Christian faith as a template and a manual that would help you in your business, then please have a rethink. But recently, and just to wrap up on that, recently in just spending time studying and meditating on the word, some thoughts began to come to my heart, and Pastor validated them maybe like a month ago, that, there's a level at which it is good to use the Bible or the Bible principles to run your business. It's not too bad, but believe me, that's not really it. There's a level where it is instead you are supposed to use your life or your business to run the Bible. Don't use the Bible to run your business, but use your business to run the Bible. The difference is this: when you use the Bible to run your business, the Bible is just a tool, or the Word of God is just a tool that you are using to meet an end. And like PG was saying, that means if you go to a place where things work well, where they give you a loan and all, you won't need the Bible anymore, because the government has interventions for small business and everything. But when you use your business to run the Bible, it means the Bible is the ultimate. What it says is what matters. So if it says today, stop this business, that means the very next day, that business stops. So just to give that context, that it's some of the thoughts I've had, over time about life and business and how it intersects with faith. Thank you.
Round of applause for him, please.
Praise God. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for inviting me here. My name is Bridget Musa, and I'm a quantity surveyor. And my journey started, say, 15 years ago. And I wasn't too happy because I felt my classmates, so to say, were ahead of me. Because after secondary school, I couldn't get admission to the university for JAMB reasons. My result was scannable, so my dad said, okay, take a polytechnic form. So I had to take a polytechnic form, and then I did well, and then I was admitted and all of that. So I saw myself at a very early age with adults. I was still a teenager, so to say, with adults, and I just felt, even though I was always the youngest around my peers, I just felt I was already like them. So after I'd finished my ND, I went to my 1-year IT. Okay, what do you want to do? Oh, you have to go back to the university. Okay, fine, direct entry. I got my direct entry form and all of that. So going to the university for me was like, they were taking me backwards, because my classmates, we were just going to go for, already in their HND1, they just had 1 more year to go, and they will become corpers. You know how that feels, So I was like, I'm just behind. So I remember we were going for youth service in 2004. I was just battling with like, I think 300 level or so. I wasn't so happy. But then, thankfully, I was doing well in class, and I was always called corporate QS. That was what my classmates used to call me then, and all of that. So I always had this dream of working in a very big firm, nothing more, just working in a firm and just being on the board. That has just been, that's what had always been in my head. And then NYC posted me to a company that I didn't know was a multinational, and that was how my journey began. So the company actually exposed me to a whole lot, because I remember after I had served with them and I was retained, they called, I was supposed to go to Lagos for an interview and all of that. I couldn't even negotiate the salary, because I didn't really feel, because at the time, my rent, my father was paying my rent, so I didn't really know what to really say or how much, for me I felt like 30,000 would be fine. I don't really do much, I don't go anywhere and all of that. So that actually shaped, my thoughts. They didn't depend on what I had to say. Just give me what the structure had to say, where I fit in, and that was it. But my defining moment, when I just joined the company and all of that, I was the only girl.
Of course, the construction company where, of course, you have a lot of men and few women. And even when you have women are always, maybe they come after a year or two, you don't see them anymore and all that. But I came in unmarried. So my boss then, as our boss in Nigeria, would just tell me, Bridget, don't stay too long. Ensure you get your qualification. Ensure you pursue this career. I see you're bright. Give it your best. Don't be distracted, and all that. It was really tough. But I think I saw she was really, a tough woman. And, I looked up to her in a way, and I'm like, wow, I want to be like Madame Sade one day, that kind of a thing. And that was how I began to put in the work. And just suddenly, one morning, I just got a letter that my boss was going to be leaving for the UK, and I was going to take over the Abuja office. I was like, are these people crazy? Like me? When did I just graduated from school, I just finished youth service, what do I know? And I had 1 month for my boss to transition. So my boss was just helping me doing this. He was trying to, like, if he could open my brain to put everything inside, he would have done so. Yeah? So I felt a lot of pressure and all that. And my boss had a lot of side, PPs he was always doing, and he was doing a lot for multinationals as well. So he was always taking me along with him, and then so I was really quite exposed early to some of these things, and I was finding it interesting. And for the things he couldn't finish before leaving, I was able to now finish it with his guidance and all of that. So that has been my story, and things that I've learned from that company are things that I'm still using till date. Because we are working at the moment, it's not like I have to be the one to bring out, okay, I have to do this, I have to put in the work, okay, this is how it's going to be done. Unlike where I used to be, they'll tell, this is how it should be, you have to follow the structure, this is, you don't, yes, you think, but there is a template for you to work with. They're not expecting you to come up with anything. Things have been done before you were born and all of that. So, but unfortunately, for where I am, I have to keep on thinking of what to do, how to do it, how to go about it, and all of that. So that's pretty much been my story. Praise God.
A round of applause for her, please. So from what I've gathered from three of you, Mrs. Toyin talked about just putting your best foot forward and showing up and showing out. Barrister Marks talked about how having a relationship with God has really influenced his career. And, for Mrs. Musa, you talked about how, you had big dreams and you also rose up to the occasion, because a lot of times people avoid responsibility, so you have the potential, but then you want to shy away because you don't want you want the rights without the responsibility sort of thing. So it's good that people know that, if you want more, you also need to rise to the occasion and put yourself forward. So please, another round of applause for them. I just want to issue a disclaimer that the conversation is going to go from being generic to being more specific, and the questions don't flow in any particular order, so just expect anything and everything. Okay. So for people struggling with accounting and bookkeeping, a lot of times we talk about making money, and people are making money, or at least they have some form of income. But, how do you, manage your finances? Like, what are basic skills you need to be able to, to even embrace the idea of managing? Because some of us don't have good money perspective. For example, someone like me who grew up in a home where my father was an accountant, I don't like accounting stuff, because all I remember my dad says, I don't have money, but he was running things. So as an adult, I find that anything related to accounting, I'm just like, whatever. So how do we change our perspective and even manage our resources properly?
Okay, let me start by correcting this popular notion. People believe that accountants are stingy. Please, we are not stingy. We are prudent. There's a difference between the two. Now that we've had that settled, I will answer your question. All right. Also, let me say something as well. In in my experience so far, I've done business all my life. And I think that's why on the path that I've decided to tow, you know, it has been easy in comparison to a lot of people's experience as well. I've done business all my life. I was involved in my business, my mom's business. She's a successful businesswoman. She owns the complex where she sells at the moment. So for me, I've seen her growth. I've seen her transition from one business. When it's not doing well, immediately she's thinking, what other business can we start again? I've seen her introduce that business, the strategy that she adopted, like going into terrains that she knew nothing about. And anytime she does that, she succeeds, exceedingly at it. Now, I've realized that a lot of businesses, funding is not the problem. Funding is not the problem, especially for SMEs. Most of the time, the problem is financial management. And people don't realize how critical that skill is. See, if you want to do anything different for your business next year, and you want it to succeed, if the only thing you will achieve is having good financial management system, I guarantee you that your business will succeed next year. I have no doubt about it. In fact, I can place a bet. Yeah, I can place a bet on that. Why am I saying that? Business is all about you making money and also knowing how to manage the money. That's what business is about. So most of the time we focus on making the money. We are not thinking of how do I manage the money. So what happens is that you can't even control, you can't tell how the money is leaving the business. I've met a lot of business owners, to say, we make money, but we can't see where the money is going into. And it's the truth. And that's because they don't have proper financial management system. Now, thankfully, there's a lot of technological advancements that has made bookkeeping easy. Now, another thing I will say is that make sure you don't stop at bookkeeping, because there's a difference between bookkeeping and accounting. Bookkeeping is the act of keeping track or keeping record of all the financial transactions in your business. So just you recording, having proper documentation, that's bookkeeping. So accounting takes it a notch higher, which is this data that you have captured. What accounting does is to help you make sense of it, to make you communicate or make you understand what the business is telling you at that point in time. I'm sure this is not the first time you're hearing that accounting is the language of a business. If you're not doing accounting in your business, that means you're not communicating with your business, you are deaf to your business. So how would that person ever succeed? It's just like I'm trying to talk to you, you can't hear me. We can't communicate, we can't make any headway. Probably I'm trying to make you to do something there. I'll just keep screaming and you'll just be looking at me like, oh, sorry, like, what are you talking about?
Does any one of you have something to add, or should we move on to the next? Okay. So as employers, how do you manage being fair and kind, facing our current economic realities?
Okay, so I think I can take that. So for me, like I said, because of by virtue of how I got into business, I didn't know a lot of things, and I've had to learn sometimes the hard way. Sometimes the Holy Spirit helps me. Sometimes I'm stubborn. I really don't follow through certain lessons, but over time I've managed. So building a team has been one area where I've received a lot of help. So my firm is not too big, but at least one of the reputations we have is that people don't just leave. I mean, I've had people who have been with me since 2015, 2016. Even the big law firms don't have it that way. The turnover rate
chickens. There is no way. Move with eagles, you know, leave your comfort, leave people that are around you, look up to other women that you feel are doing well or are doing better. Hang out with them. If you have, ask questions, and you see things will begin to change. So if you are not confident, you sit in your, nothing is going to happen. And most importantly, I say it, and I'm not ashamed of it. Seek help. Seek help. If you cannot do everything. You cannot do everything. Seek help. Seek help. Ask if you have a question. Ask. Be gracious to yourself. Be gracious. Don't beat yourself. You don't have to make up, as you don't have to have everything 100% at every point in time. If you're making it in this area, you're not making it in area, give yourself some tap at the back. Oh, fine, okay, fine. I'll do better next time, and all of that. Praise God.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing answer. I would like to say that, in addition to working at what you're not good at, there are things that you're good at. There are things that people admire about you. Even the people who seemingly have it all together have things they're insecure about. So try and focus on the things in your life. We can't all be a certain shape or a certain size or a certain, so variety is the spice of life, and we need to appreciate that. Yeah, so I would like for people to prepare their Q&As, like your questions, if you would like any question answered. But for the last question, how can we attract high-profile clients?
Let's go. You start.
How can we attract high-profile clients? Okay. The first one I would say, which I think it's like the foundation, make sure you're very good at what you do. I know we are in the era of branding. We are in the era of social media where the person with the loudest voice, it seems as if that's the person, taking all the opportunities, or those are the people that are. But the truth is that is not totally true. And if the only thing you have is to make noise on social media, but in terms of what you do, you're not good at it, it's just a matter of time. I will always tell people, you don't have a business yet if the only set of clients you have are new clients. You don't have a business yet. The moment you start having clients, repeated clients, like they come back, they patronize you, then you'll have a business at that point in time. So it's what I tell, especially for eateries. When an eatery just opens, everybody wants to go there to just go and have an experience, especially if the restaurant has a very good ambience. People want to go there. But the truth is that what actually keeps them is the good food and the service. So what am I trying to say? That's the foundation. Be good at what you do. Be valuable. Don't be a noisemaker. Be valuable. You can be a noisemaker, but make sure that there's something behind it. But not that you're just making noise alone. If we have that settled, right, then the next way, or the next thing I would say you should do is that push yourself. Most times we disqualify ourselves even before we are disqualified. So when we see opportunities, you just be like, this one is not for me. I just told you about the first client I had, right? That was my first time writing a proposal on my own to a client. Yeah, that was my first time doing that. And I remember that the first time when the person that referred me is actually my husband. He's not my husband, but he was not my husband then. So that was the deal that actually brought us together. Yes, exactly. I remember that when he referred me, and I'm like, where's the company? Please send me their link. Then I checked them. These people manufacture aircrafts. They manufacture warcraft as well, trains. I'm like, okay, sorry, please, what's going on here? Like, but you see, of course, I had to talk to myself, and I told myself that what's the worst thing that will happen is for me to submit my proposal, and they're like, what kind of trash is this? That's it. But at the end of the day, even when I come outside, nobody will know that that happened to me, right? So what I did, the proposal, of course, I did all the research in the whole world. I researched not just on my own, I called people that were doing that also, because you see, there's power in consulting, you know, asking people. Yes, during the process, so some people, I was bothering them, no problem. If you don't want to talk to me, I know there's someone else that wants to talk to me. Like, I was relentless. And I got all the information, I put everything in the proposal, and I submitted. On the day of the meeting also, I remember that day, I prayed. I'm not even sure I slept, but I woke up anyway. Then I prayed, I dressed up, I looked the parts, and I went there, and we had the meeting. What am I trying to say? Push yourself. Don't just go for opportunities that you know that you can easily get. I always say that most of the time we pray for breakthroughs, but the truth is that we are not even ready for it, because we don't do what we're supposed to do for that breakthrough to occur. Imagine if when the link was sent to me and I'm like, this company is too big. Please, 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 please. I can't, me that I don't even have an office space. How am I even going to get, you know, these clients? You know that the story I'm telling you now wouldn't have happened. So from my experience, push yourself. Push yourself. I know people say network, go to expensive events. I've never done that in my life. Yes, because I've gone for events like that, but I realized that the truth is that, especially for the kind of services that I provide or what I sell, it's actually based on trust. Yes, you close the deal effortlessly if pastor is the one recommending me to him. Than if, and the truth is that when you even go to those such events and the only thing you are doing is to be sharing your client a card, I network people, they see you as you're hungry. You cannot get to that setting. No, I know what I'm saying. Yeah, I know what I'm saying. Earlier this year, I was at an event and we had billionaires, I mean in dollars. I'm not joking. There was this particular one, he sold his business. It was 120 years old. It was a family business. He's a billionaire. He sold his business, and my other colleagues were just trying to tell him all the terrible stories that we have in Africa. And, you know, yeah, because they thought he's a billionaire and he would give them money. And I told them that, actually, high network people, you must not appear needy to them. The moment you appear needy to them, the door is shut. Why? Because they know that if they give you money, most likely you use it to eat. No, now. Yes. Who works when they are hungry? You only work when you are full. So you must understand the psychology of an high network person as well. They don't want needy people around them. At the same time, they don't want arrogant people. So there has to be a balance. It has to be, you know, you have to create that balance. So what do I mean? Go for opportunities that are beyond your present capacity. Push yourself intentionally, but while doing that also be prayerful about it. What I have enjoyed for me, the way my company has grown, is one client, I do their job satisfactorily, and sometimes I ask for recommendations, sometimes I don't want. But because they are within that circle, I could just get a call. I could just get a call and they say, oh, this person referred me to you. And I'm like, okay, how does this happen again? But you see, it's usually effortless. When I go in for such meetings, they're not asking me what you can do. We are there to gist. Oh, so will you be drafting the contract? Or should we get a lawyer? I'm not joking. They are not asking me, what have you done? Which work have you? Not at all. Because, you know, someone that they trust had recommended me. Let me just share this few points. I know he has more things to say, so.
A round of applause for her.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So I'll just give a practical case study of, one time I landed what we call a high profile client. It started as a joke. It was Mr. Nelson here. Then I used to, when we were doing the business as a mission training. So while we were doing the EMP training, so while we were doing training, I was giving an illustration. I said, so assuming, because it was on contract law, so I was giving them an idea of illegal contracts that the court will not enforce. That assuming I entered the contract with somebody, because that was when Dino Melai was reigning, and 2016. So I said, I now give them an example of, say, assuming I enter, no, he's still reigning to an extent, but then he was at maybe a higher level. So I just gave an illustration and jokingly said, assuming I enter in contract with someone now, that I'll give him money to help me go and slap Dino Melai, and he slaps Dino Melai and I don't pay him the money and he takes me to court. The court will not enforce the contract because it's illegal. It's a contract to commit a crime, assault on another person. So it was a joke. That was on one Sunday. And then here I was the next Sunday. I was at home and I just got a call from a colleague who said, will you be willing to come for a meeting with me this evening? Somebody wants to see you. I said, okay, no problem. We met up. Then I was still living in Uye. And she took me to, lo and behold, to Dino Melai's place. That was when Sore wrote that he didn't graduate from ABU and he wanted somebody to sue Sore in defamation for him. And that's how I ended up getting that case. But to look at the back of that transaction now, one of the strategies that the Holy Spirit taught me early on was that sometimes the greatest market to is your competition. So what I was doing then was that we had MBA WhatsApp groups. So I always put up things, write things then and all. So the lady who recommended me, because she saw I had written something about online defamation before then. So the man asked her, this is a defamation online, he did it on Twitter, who can handle this kind of case? And that's why she recommended me. So yeah, I'm just saying that's another strategy as well. Market your own industry, because a lot of lawyers, some are not practicing, and same with your profession. The person doesn't do that kind of work and just wants, because whenever people recommend, and coming back to what she said, whenever a person recommends you, the person is also in a sense putting his own reputation online. Nobody wants to recommend a person who will not do a good job, because she's recommending it to him because she does other work for him. So she won't want to recommend somebody. I mean, lately, and I had a bad experience like that, where I recommended someone to a client, and because they performed so badly, the thing not only did they lose, but it ultimately affected my relationship with that client, because that person performed so badly. So, and I regretted it because somehow I didn't know enough about it, but I just felt under pressure and just, okay, let me give you somebody's phone number, and, it backfired spectacularly, and even myself, it impacted me. So just to wrap up my thoughts on it, just to also say that sometimes also, please, particularly if your business is still developing, don't rush for high net worth client or high profile client. Because I have a so-called high profile client now, a former service chief and his wife. And believe me, those people have given me the grief of my life. And I now see that and I even wonder, because these so-called high net worth people, particularly high net worth individuals, for services particularly, they don't even pay. That's the strange part. For some reason, no, because even the Bible says ruthless men retain riches. A lot of them got rich. Yes, a lot of them got rich through ruthlessness. They don't pay people that work for them. That's how some of them are rich. So sometimes don't overstress yourself. Just grow your business. Whether it's a small client, it's a big client, just do your best and just go gradually. It's better when you grow with a client. The most loyal clients, and what in my own industry lawyers always tell us, is that as lawyers grow higher, they get to a point where I've met a lawyer who has said it before, that he has only 3 clients, and now he's trying to drop one of them. He wants only 2 clients. Yeah, because, and these are people that he has grown with over 20, 30 years. So at that point now, those people will just come and say, I'm buying a house in Ijebode, I'm buying another one in Port Harcourt, and they just calculate 5% and give him. By the time he gets that 5% alone, it may be enough for him for the rest of the year to just relax. So sometimes don't bother yourself too much about profile clients. Just stay with the ones you are with, but serve them faithfully. Bear with them sometimes through the tough times when they can't pay you and all, and grow with them over the long term. They usually will be more loyal to you ultimately than the so-called high profile you want to chase now. Thank you.
There's a resounding round of applause for our panelists. For you, you've said you need to master your craft and do it afraid. And Barrister Marx has talked about trusting the process, allowing yourself to grow, and, you know, staying consistent in what you're doing, basically. So, and yeah, brand visibility, you know, advertise, because the more people know about you, the more you get the clients that you're seeking for. So, with that said, thank you everyone for participating. If there are any questions, we're happy to take them now. Does anyone have a question? Okay, I can see a hand.
Is that the person keeping financial record most definitely know their business more than, because again, you're building a data-driven business. It's not based on emotions. There is actual data to show it. So even earlier when the conversation on there are no jobs for data analytics, I think that the reason that that is true is because in my personal experience, I think data analysis is more a mid-level and senior level role. Why? You're not, a lot of people who do data analytics courses, they do it to learn Excel and to create graphs, but they're not able to translate those graphs to strategic decision making for the organization, which is what the organization needs. So when people say there are no jobs in data analytics, it's because there are no jobs for you who is waiting to be told what to do. But for the person who is able to take that data and translate it for decision making, there is definitely a job for you. So there are so many small businesses who are not keeping records, or who have record and do not know how to use it for their business. As a data analysis students, you don't need to have studied accounting to know how to do bookkeeping and how to translate that result for decision making. So there is definitely room for you. It's just that you're not thinking in how you can solve a problem. You're waiting to be told what to do with the data that you have analyzed.
Thank you very much, MC. Just a few announcements before we wrap up everything. So I think there's a feedback form, so please fill the feedback form. Okay. Oh, it's on the screen. Okay. To get more resources and the slides, please leave your details. You can leave them with the MEC, so you can get like the resources from today, whether it's the recording, whatever it is. And if you haven't had something to eat or drink, please speak to MEC as well. Yeah, okay, that's all.
At the lower levels, you have more women. And as you look up, you see that women become fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer. If you're here and you're a woman and you're a lady and you want to move up the ladder and you're not married, I think that's taking that decision is very important. The kind of person you marry will determine how far, can in a very long extent determine how far you're going to go, because marriage changes everything. And then childbearing, in fact, changes the equation upside down. So if that is a path you want to tow, you don't want to be a business owner, to wake up at your time and do everything at your pace, you need to be very, 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 conscious about the kind of man you're married to. Otherwise, trust me, you cannot build a career. You just always be at the beginning all the time. You go out of work, you come back, you start from the beginning again, because you would have lost a whole lot and you have forgotten a lot of things. You have to keep upskilling every time you want to go back to work. Praise God.
Thank you so much.